who gave these little
twerps,
upstarts the authority to dictate what part of the public record members of the public can't read?
So if an MP used the word dreadful or disgraceful or inept or mismanagement or reckless, that would be expunged, and indeed those words have been expunged.
That's correct.
Why don't we hear about this on the ABC?
Well, you won't, because the ABC General Manager Mark Scott said just last week that he wants to make the ABC an arm of the government. He wants the taxpayers to, via the government, to fund the ABC with hundreds of millions of dollars more, so that the ABC will push the Rudd government's diplomatic endeavours overseas. I mean...
Well, talking about overseas, Mr Rudd, you make the point, attended an ASEAN summit meeting a couple of weekends ago. His censorship rules would have delighted the leaders of Brunei, Burma, Cambodia, Indonesia, Laos, Malaysia, the Philippines, Singapore, Thailand and Vietnam.
Oh, they would only envy Mr Rudd that he has public servants who are prepared to act as censor on his behalf. In most of those nations, citizens put their lives on the line when they try to get their material out uncensored. I mean, where is Australia?
Well, where is the scrutiny?
As a beacon of democracy in the Pacific.
But I'm talking to you. But apart from that, where is the scrutiny of all of this?
Well, you know that the Fairfax press has rolled over and had its tummy tickled by these clowns in Canberra, and that the ABC is on the public tit. You're not and this is why when Rudd made his extraordinary attack on people like you and me, because we are highlighting the real science, which shows that this human-induced global warming is scientifically unproven.
Well, they don't call it global warming anymore because they know the climate's not warming, so they call it climate change now, don't they?
You know, the wind blows from the south, and and you know, it gets cooler in Australia, and when it blows from the north, from the deserts, most of our towns get hotter.
Well, I interviewed David Bellamy earlier this year, and I know you made reference. I interviewed him earlier this year, and in a recent piece by you quoted him last November as saying, the science has quite simply gone awry. In fact, it's not even science anymore, it's anti-science. But marrying those two issues together about climate change and censorship, so when the CSIRO senior environmental economist Dr. Clive Spash argues that the Rudd government's carbon pollution reduction scheme was an ineffective way to cut emissions, he's not allowed to publish his paper.
Alan, in another century, this is like book burning. This is what the Roman Catholic Church attempted to do with Galileo, when he pointed out that Earth was not the centre of the universe.
Yeah.
You know, and
he's actually told he can't publish the paper because it's, quote, politically sensitive.
Well, for a scientific body to be censoring a thesis, which is what this is, and it's Dr. Clive Spash view as an economist of the effectiveness of the emissions trading scam, for them to interfere with the dissemination of a scientist's material is absolutely appalling.
Well, goodness knows what in the corridors of Parliament they're doing to business to shut them up. Most probably intimidating them as well, because
they're promising them they're promising them huge payouts from this environment tax,
and that helps them to shut up.
They're buying them off.
You
know, you've got that Heather sellout from the business.
Unbelievable, isn't she?
She's. I mean, she must have moved into the lodge.
Yeah, that's.
Huh?
Absolutely, Heather sellout, and she is as well. I mean, but now it's got worse, hasn't it? Because as the tide goes out, metaphorically speaking, and the people are waking up to Copenhagen and the flawed science of it all, then suddenly the Prime Minister's descended into this politics of fear and smear and bullying, because he now knows he's in a corner, people are waking up, and this carbon dioxide tax bill is not going to get through the Parliament.
He is behaving more badly. He's using the tactics that he's always accused his critics of. But his critics have never tried to be alarmist. They've pointed out they've used scientific argument to underscore their points of view. But Rudd has leapt off like a Catherine wheel, spewing hate and venom, But it was interesting, the Prime Minister of Denmark, Rasmussen, at the weekend was saying that he doesn't think that they'll get much of an agreement, maybe an agreement to agree that they'll have further talks. Why is Rudd insisting that we have an ironclad, set in concrete tax? Why won't he share the contents of the draft treaty with the Australian people?
And indicate what deals have already been done at Barcelona and Bangkok and everywhere else.
Well, let the Australian people know that their government, the Rudd government, wants to hand over power to the UN to tax and to come in and look at the books.
And hand over money as well as power.
Well, that's right. And
just before we go to the news, I want to ask one question before we go to the news. I mean, how critical, therefore, is next month for Australia as a nation?
This is a far bigger deal than the GST election was, Alan. This is a huge jump in our taxes and a reduction in our liberties. And every Australian should be very afraid of what Kevin Rudd is doing.
Good on you. Good to talk to you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, sir.
It's Piers Ackerman. We'll return to that, and just repeating tomorrow, because you've asked for it, and I've had thousands of letters about it, I will be reproducing the Moncton interviews that I did last week and the interview with Professor Lindzen, the world's preeminent authority on climate change.